They didn't just steal my money, they stole my trust, and for that, they're gonna pay. My name is Evelyn, and at 31, I just uncovered the most ruthless betrayal of my life. My family, the very people I sacrificed everything for, have drained my bank account, maxed out my credit cards, and left me with a mountain of debt. And while my sister Mary is probably sipping cocktails on a beach in Hawaii, thinking I'm too naive to notice, and my parents are smugly assuming I'll clean up their mess like always, I'm not panicking. I'm not screaming. I'm not begging. Because unlike them, I saw this coming. And while they think they've won, they have no idea that they've just walked into a game I've been playing far longer than they realize. It started with a phone call. I was in line at the grocery store, about to pay for a simple carton of milk and a loaf of bread. Nothing fancy, just the bare necessities. My work week had been brutal, and all I wanted was to get home, pour myself a glass of wine, and pretend for a moment that I wasn't drowning under the weight of being my family's personal ATM. The cashier rang up my total. I swiped my card. Declined. I frowned. That didn't make sense. I swiped again. Declined. A heat wave of embarrassment washed over me as the cashier's polite but pitiful look made my stomach twist. People behind me shifted impatiently. I forced a tight-lipped smile, pretending like this was just some silly mistake, and pulled out my phone. That's when I saw the alert from my credit card company. A charge of $95,000 was made to your account. My heart slammed against my ribs. That wasn't possible. I frantically scrolled through the transactions and my blood turned to ice. Luxury resort stays, 5-star dining, designer shopping sprees, all in Hawaii. And then, as if on cue, my phone buzzed with a text from my mother. Evelyn, we need to talk. Mary's in a little trouble. You need to send money right away. I stared at the screen, feeling something dark coil in my stomach. Not surprise, not confusion. No, those emotions had long since burned out when it came to them. This was pure rage. My family had robbed me, they had used me, and now they had the audacity to act like it was my responsibility to fix the mess they made. I exhaled slowly, forcing down the anger clawing at my throat. They thought I was weak. They thought I would cave, like I always had before. They thought wrong. I left the groceries on the counter and walked out of the store, my hands gripping my phone so tightly my knuckles turned white. I needed a plan, and lucky for me, I already had one. The thing about betrayal is that it never happens all at once. It builds, it festers. It's a slow, creeping rot that you don't notice until it's too late, and I should have noticed sooner. Maybe it was the way my mother always seemed to need just a little extra for groceries. How my father's financial failures always somehow became my problem. Or the way Mary, the golden child, never seemed to lift a damn finger but always had the latest designer bags and the most extravagant vacations. I had spent years being their safety net, their lifeline, but I wasn't their daughter or their sister in their eyes. I was their piggy bank, and that piggy bank, it just shattered. I had been preparing for this moment for months. The first time my father had borrowed money from me and never paid it back, I started keeping records. The first time my mother guilt-tripped me into covering their mortgage payment, I made copies of the receipts. And the first time Mary stole my credit card for a small shopping spree, I installed fraud alerts on every financial account I had. They thought they were playing me. But I had been watching them, studying them, learning exactly how they operated. And now it was time to take back everything they stole from me. I pulled up my banking app and locked every single card under my name. If Mary was still living it up in Hawaii, she was about to get a very rude awakening when her credit line vanished. Then I called the bank and froze every joint account my parents had ever convinced me to open in good faith. By the time I was done, I could already imagine it. Mary standing at a boutique counter, her face turning red as her card got declined. My mother dialing my number in a panic, only for it to go straight to voicemail. My father realizing that their little safety net had disappeared. But that wasn't enough. No, I needed something bigger, something permanent. So I went to the one place my family feared more than bankruptcy, my grandmother's house. My grandmother, the real matriarch of the family, had built an empire from nothing. She owned a famous Italian restaurant, a legacy she had built with her own two hands. And unlike my parents, she understood the value of hard work. She also had zero tolerance for leeches. When I told her everything, every last detail about how my family had drained me dry, she didn't react with shock. She simply sighed, shaking her head. "They always were selfish," she said. "But this is unforgivable." I slid the final document across the table, the deed to my parents' house. "I want out," I said, my voice steady, "and I want them to pay." She picked up the papers, scanning them over, then she smiled. "Then let's make them pay, sweetheart." By the time my parents and Mary returned from Hawaii, exhausted but satisfied, they walked into an empty house. Their furniture gone, their clothes packed and shipped to my grandmother's restaurant. Their bank accounts frozen. And the best part, the house they once called home, sold. To me, the moment they stepped inside, I was waiting for them. Arms crossed, smiling. "Welcome back," I said smoothly. "Hope you enjoyed your trip, because it's the last one you'll be taking for a long, long time." My mother's face paled. My father stammered, and Mary screamed, but it was too late. I had already won. Sitting under the Hawaiian sun, sipping expensive cocktails they didn't pay for, laughing at the gullible idiot they believed me to be. They probably toasted to their little scam, celebrating the fact that once again they had managed to wring me dry. What they didn't realize was that while they were basking in stolen luxury, I was pulling the ground out from under them. They had no idea I had seen this coming. They had no idea I had spent months, years preparing for this moment. They had no idea. They had just walked into their own downfall, designed perfectly by me, because this wasn't just about getting my money back. This was about making sure they could never do this to me again. It had started as a whisper in the back of my mind, a nagging thought that something wasn't right. It was the little things at first. My mother's, "Oh, sweetie, can you cover this just this once?" becoming more frequent. My father's, "We'll pay you back next month, promise," becoming less convincing. Mary's, "It's just a little shopping spree, you'll survive," becoming an expectation, not an accident. And then the numbers stopped adding up. I was making more money than ever before. I had a solid job, a steady income. Yet every month I was broke. Every time I checked my account, another charge I didn't recognize, another withdrawal I didn't authorize. It wasn't a mistake. It wasn't bad luck. It was them. And once I realized that, once I really saw what was happening, I started playing my own game. The first thing I did was secure my money. I opened a new bank account, one they didn't know about. I stopped direct deposits into our joint account and rerouted my paychecks. I set up fraud alerts on my credit cards, tracking every single purchase. Then I started collecting evidence. Every time my mother borrowed money, I wrote it down. Every time my father used my name to apply for something, I made a note. Every time Mary snuck into my room to borrow my credit card, I let her. Because while she was maxing it out on designer shoes, I was installing security cameras. And then, the real masterpiece, the house. It was almost laughably easy. My father, in his infinite arrogance, thought he could manipulate me like always. "Evelyn, sweetheart, the bank is threatening to take the house. If you just put your name on the paperwork, it'll keep us safe." He thought I was stupid. He thought I wouldn't read the fine print, but I did, and I rewrote the contract. So when he signed those papers, thinking he was just using my name to buy them more time, he actually signed the house over to me. It was mine, legally, permanently, and he had no idea. For months, I played the part, the dutiful daughter, the generous sister, the fool. I let them think they were still in control. I let them believe I was still their personal bank. I let Mary steal my credit card one last time, because that was the final straw. That was the moment I had been waiting for, when I got the notification, $95,000 gone in a matter of days. I didn't panic. I didn't even flinch, because I already knew exactly what I was going to do. While they were partying in Hawaii, I was selling the house. I didn't hesitate. I didn't second guess myself. I called my lawyer. I called a real estate agent. I called the moving company. And piece by piece, I erased them. By the time they got back, the house, gone. Their bank accounts, frozen. Their belongings shipped off to my grandmother's restaurant. They had nothing, no safety net, no backup plan. And the best part? They didn't even see it coming. I was waiting for them when they walked through the front door, or at least what used to be the front door of their house. My mother stopped short, her designer sunglasses slipping down her nose as she took in the empty living room. No furniture, no decorations, nothing. "Evelyn!" she breathed, confusion laced in every syllable. My father stormed forward, his face turning red. "What the hell is this? Mary?" Mary just stood there, blinking like an idiot, her suitcase still dangling from her manicured fingers. I crossed my arms. Welcome back. They were still in shock. They still thought this was some kind of mistake. "Where's our stuff?" Mary demanded. "Where's the couch? My room?" I tilted my head. "Oh, you mean my stuff? Because that's what it is, legally speaking." My father took another step forward, his voice rising. "This is our house!" I pulled out the deed, and then for the first time I watched realization sink in. My father snatched the paper from my hand, scanning the words, his eyes growing wider and wider. My mother gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. Mary's jaw dropped. I smiled. "It was your house," I said smoothly, "until you signed it over to me." Silence. Beautiful, stunned silence. That was the moment they knew. They had nothing. No home, no savings, no way out. And for the first time in their lives, they had no one to blame but themselves. They had used me, stolen from me, lied to me. And now they were the ones left with nothing. Because this time, the only person I was saving was myself. This has to be some kind of mistake," my mother stammered, shaking her head. "Evelyn, sweetheart, this is our home." "You wouldn't." "I did." I cut her off coldly. Her face twitched. She was scrambling, trying to find a way to manipulate me, to gaslight me into believing I was in the wrong. But I could see the cracks forming, the fear creeping in behind her eyes. My father wasn't even pretending, he was furious. Rage burned through his face, turning him a deep, ugly red. "You ungrateful little brat," he spat, his hands balling into fists. "After everything we've done for you, you pull this stunt." I laughed, actually laughed. The audacity of this man. "Everything you've done for me?" I repeated, arching a brow. "You mean the years of stealing from me? The lies? The manipulation?" "Oh, yeah, thanks, Dad. Really appreciate it." His eyes darkened. He was used to me backing down, to me folding under his temper, but I wasn't the same desperate little girl anymore. I crossed my arms. I let him see, because no matter how angry he got, no matter how much he blustered, he couldn't change reality. This wasn't his house anymore, and he had no one to blame but himself. Mary was the last to react. She had been standing there, silent, processing, her hands still gripping the handles of her expensive luggage, the same designer luggage she bought with my money, and then, finally, it clicked. Her lips curled into a sneer. That entitled, bratty sneer I had seen 1,000 times before. "You can't do this to me," she hissed. I turned to her, unimpressed. "Pretty sure I just did." "No, you don't get it," she snapped. "Where the hell am I supposed to go? I have plans, I have a life. I can't just live on the street." "That's not my problem," I said simply. Mary's nostrils flared, her anger turned venomous, but beneath it I could see the panic. She wasn't worried about the house. She was worried about her lifestyle because Mary had never worked a day in her life. She had spent years leeching off of me, of our parents, living like some spoiled princess while I paid the bills. "And now?" "You're such a miserable bitch," she snarled. "This is why no one likes you. You're selfish. You always act like you're better than everyone." "Selfish?" I let out a dry, humorless chuckle. "That's rich, coming from the girl who spent nearly 100 grand of my money on a vacation." She flinched. "Good." I took a step forward, lowering my voice, letting the weight of my words sink in. "You've spent your entire life mooching off me. You think you're better than me? You can't even survive without me. You have nothing, Mary. No job, no money, no home. And I don't owe you anything." Her face twisted. She wanted to fight back, to say something cutting, something that would put me back in my place. But she had nothing. Because for once she wasn't in control. My mother, ever the manipulator, tried the last trick she had. Fake tears. "Evelyn, please," she whispered, her voice trembling. "We're family." I tilted my head, watching her put on the performance of her life. "You know we didn't mean to hurt you, sweetheart," she continued, sniffling. "We were just struggling. We thought you'd understand." I let the silence stretch, let her think she had me. Then I smiled. "You're right, Mum," I said softly. "We are family." Her hope flickered in her eyes. Then I leaned in. "Which is why you should have known better than to screw me over." The hope vanished. I stepped back, watching the mask shatter. They still didn't get it. Even as they stood there, humiliated, powerless, they still thought there was a way out, but I had made sure there wasn't. I had been planning this for too long. Every account under my name, frozen. Every credit card they used, cancelled. Every dime they had left, locked away, untouchable. And the best part, I had sent their remaining belongings somewhere special. I reached into my pocket, pulled out my phone and held it up. "Say hi to Grandma for me." My father paled. My mother gasped. "Mary?" Mary actually screamed, because they knew exactly what that meant. My grandmother was the one person in this family who had built something real, a restaurant empire. She worked for everything she had. She knew the value of money, of discipline, of hard work, and she had always despised leeches. Which was why, when I told her everything, when I showed her the proof, she didn't hesitate. "Send them to me," she had said. "I'll take care of them." And by take care, she didn't mean coddle them. She meant put them to work, because if they wanted a roof over their heads, if they wanted food to eat, if they wanted anything at all, they were going to have to earn it. No more handouts, no more free rides, no more me. My father tried to fight it. "We're not going," he roared, but it wasn't his choice. The house was mine, the money was mine, and their time had run out. A car pulled up to the curb. The driver stepped out. A man in a pressed uniform. "Your ride is here," I said casually. Mary's face went white. "You can't send me to that place," she shrieked. "I'm not sending you anywhere," I corrected. "You can go wherever you want. But Grandma's the only one willing to take you in. And considering you don't have a single cent to your name..." I trailed off, watching the last piece of their delusion break. They had no choice. It was Grandma's way or the street. As they were ushered into the car, my father turned back, his jaw clenched so tight I thought it might snap. "You'll regret this," he growled. I smiled. "I don't think I will." And as the car pulled away, taking them toward the life they had earned for themselves, I took a deep, cleansing breath. For the first time in years, I was free, even as they were forced into the car, even as their last shreds of dignity were packed up and sent to Grandma's house. They still believed, somehow, some way, they would bounce back. My father probably thought he could talk his way into getting a loan, sweet-talking some banker into handing him another chance. My mother was likely already crafting some sob story, a way to guilt-trip a distant relative into helping her. And Mary? She thought this was temporary, a minor inconvenience. They were all wrong. Because I hadn't just taken away their home, I had burned every bridge. They had spent years making me feel trapped. Now it was their turn. As their car drove toward Grandma's house, I sat back in my own apartment, pulled out my laptop, and closed every single door they could have used to escape. I already knew my father would try to get credit somewhere else. He was predictable like that, always convinced he could talk his way into getting another shot, so I made sure that wouldn't happen. I had gathered every single unpaid bill, every loan default, every fraud attempt in his name, and I sent it to every major bank in the area. Within the hour, he was blacklisted. No loans, no new credit cards, no more second chances. I could only imagine his face when he walked into a bank expecting to sweet-talk his way into another financial bailout, only to be laughed out the door. My mother was next. She wasn't like my father. She didn't try to scheme her way into money. She tried to emotionally manipulate people into giving it to her. Her weapon was guilt. So I made sure she had no one left to guilt. I sent a detailed email with proof to every extended family member, every old friend, every distant acquaintance she had ever tried to emotionally blackmail into giving her money, screenshots of texts, copies of checks, stories of how she had drained me for years while living beyond her means, and then I blocked her number from my phone. By the time she tried reaching out for help, there would be no one left to answer. And then there was Mary. Oh, poor spoiled Mary, the girl who had never worked a day in her life, the girl who thought luxury was a birthright, the girl who believed that no matter what, someone else would always take care of her, not this time. She didn't know it yet, but she had already been marked. The fraud on my credit card? It was now an official investigation. I had filed a formal report against her. No, she wasn't going to jail, not yet, but she was now on a financial blacklist. No bank would touch her, no credit card company would approve her, no landlord would rent to her. Her name, once associated with luxury and easy money, was now tied to fraud. She wasn't just broke, she was toxic. By the time she realized what I had done, it would be too late. I had already spoken to Grandma before they even arrived. They think they're coming here for help, I had told her. They think you'll save them. Well, they're in for a surprise, she had responded, her voice like steel. She was not a woman to be messed with. She had built her business with her own 2 hands, she had worked for everything she had, and she had no patience for leeches. By the time my parents and Mary arrived, dragging their designer luggage behind them like lost puppies, Grandma already had a plan. She didn't yell, she didn't scold, she put them to work. My father, he was waking up at 4 a.m. to unload delivery trucks, hauling crates of produce like a common laborer. My mother, she was on her hands and knees scrubbing kitchen floors for the first time in her life. And Mary, she was washing dishes. No luxury, no entitlement, no escape. For the first time in their lives, they had to earn their keep, and they hated it. I got updates from Grandma, the tantrums, the screaming, the desperation. Mary tried to quit after 1 day. Grandma simply locked the doors. You can leave if you want, she had said, but you won't be coming back. Mary cried. For once, tears didn't work. For once, no one cared. It took 2 weeks for the cracks to form. My father stopped talking altogether. My mother started looking her age. Mary? She stopped wearing makeup. The weight of their new reality was sinking in. They had no money. They had no way out. And the worst part, they knew I was watching. I got one final voicemail from Mary. Evelyn, please, I get it now. She sniffled, her voice shaking. I'm sorry, okay? You win. Can we talk? I played the message twice. Then, without hesitation, I deleted it. They had spent years taking from me, and now? They had nothing left to take. For the first time in my life, I was free. And it felt damn good. Even after everything, even after I had burned every bridge between us, they still clung to some pathetic hope that I would forgive them, that I would fix everything, that I would be the same fool I had always been. They were wrong. This wasn't a game anymore. There were no do-overs, no second chances. This was their reality now. And I was finally blissfully free. The first few months after I cut them off felt strange. For so long, my life had revolved around them, their problems, their needs, their constant, never-ending demands. I had spent so many years putting out their fires that I had forgotten what it felt like to just exist for myself. At first, it was small things. Waking up in the morning and realizing I didn't have to check my bank account in fear. Coming home to an apartment that was quiet, peaceful, mine. Walking past stores and knowing I could buy whatever I wanted without worrying about someone else maxing out my credit card. It was freedom in the simplest, purest form, and for the first time in forever, I breathed. I didn't check in on them. I didn't need to. Word travels fast, and in a town like ours, their downfall became public knowledge. My father, once the arrogant, self-important man who acted like money would always fall into his lap, was now unloading produce at the crack of dawn. My mother, who used to turn her nose up at low-class people, was working double shifts, scrubbing floors and waiting tables. And Mary had faded into nothing. The girl who used to flaunt her luxury, who once lived for attention, was now just another overworked, exhausted waitress. No designer bags, no expensive vacations, no easy life. The people they used to belittle, the workers, the nobodies, the ones they thought they were better than, now they were them. I should have felt satisfaction, and at first I did. I relished the thought of them waking up every day in a reality they once sneered at. I loved imagining my father's face when he realized he couldn't charm his way out of hard labor. The humiliation my mother must have felt every time she had to serve people she once considered beneath her. I wanted them to suffer, and they did. But then something changed. I started to feel nothing. Not pity, not regret, just emptiness. Because no matter how much they suffered, it wouldn't give me back the years they stole. I could never get back the money, the time, the innocence. What was gone. And revenge, as sweet as it had been, would never fix that Mary's voice was different this time. Gone was the arrogance, the entitlement, the sharp-edged cruelty that had always laced her words. She sounded tired. "Evelyn, I don't expect you to call back." A pause. "I used to think you were boring, that you were uptight, selfish, but you weren't. You were just carrying all of us and we never saw it, or maybe we did and we just didn't care." Silence. "I don't know if you'll ever forgive me. I don't think I deserve it." A shaky breath. "But I needed to say it. I'm sorry." Click. I never called her back, not because I hated her, but because I didn't need to. She had finally learnt what it meant to stand on her own. That was enough. I sat in my apartment, a glass of wine in my hand, the city lights stretching endlessly beyond my window. I had a new job, a better job, one that paid more, that I actually enjoyed, that let me travel without worrying about my bank account being drained behind my back. I had friends now, real friends, people who didn't take from me, who didn't see me as a walking ATM. I had peace. And for the first time in my life, I was happy. I picked up my phone, scrolled through my voicemails, and hovered over Mary's last message. For a second, I thought about deleting it, but then I smiled. Not out of bitterness, not out of anger, but because after everything, I had finally learned the most important lesson of all. Some things aren't worth holding on to, and with that, I put my phone down. And let it go. My final thoughts: you don't owe anyone your suffering. Love should never come at the cost of your own well-being. Evelyn's story is a reminder that setting boundaries isn't cruel, it's necessary. Walking away from toxic people doesn't mean you're heartless. It means you've finally chosen yourself. Revenge may feel satisfying, but true power comes from moving on, thriving, and living the life they never thought you could. Most importantly, forgive. Not for them, but for you. Not all relationships are meant to be repaired. Some are meant to teach you your worth. You don't have to set yourself on fire to keep others warm. Choose yourself, always.